Today I'm gonna talk about the best camera app for iPhone and iOS devices, ProCam 8. We will go through the features, functions and shooting modes in the app, and I will do video and photo tests, and much more with this app in the future, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those videos. So let's start. As you can see, the app has a nice looking user interface with a lot of controls and sliders. First, we have the tap to focus indicator as you can see, so we can manually focus on the subject in the frame. We can also turn on the subject tracking autofocus and auto exposure mode, so the indicator locks the focus and exposure on a person or object, even if they are moving. On the right side, we have a little slider. This is the zoom slider, and we can zoom into a photo up to 6 times, and up to 4 times in video mode. And zooming is pretty smooth. On the top of the interface we have a little status bar with a couple of indicators, like the shooting mode that we are in, the resolution of the photo or video, the flash indicator, the storage space indicator and a battery indicator. So really useful stuff. In the top left, we have a front-facing, or selfie camera, so we can switch between the rear to the front-facing camera. Below that we have a exposure bracketing button. Exposure bracketing is a photography technique where 3 or more shots of the same scene are taken at different exposures. Exposure bracketing can be used as a fail-safe method to ensure that at least one of the shots is properly exposed, or to create a high dynamic range photo in professional editing software such as Photoshop. Below that we have a HDR, or high dynamic range option. If you don't know what HDR is, it consists of capturing multiple frames of the same scene but with different exposures and then combining them into one, resulting into a dynamic range higher than those of individually captured frames. Next, we have a Tag Image File Format button, or TIFF. This is an image file format for storing raster graphics images, popular among graphic artists, the publishing industry, and photographers. And the last but not least, we have a RAW, or DNG button. RAW photos are photos that are minimally compressed or uncompressed, so you have a lot more data to work with in post-production. And on the bottom left, we have flash options. We have a flash on and off, and a flashlight option. On the lower right, we have the photo gallery button. So I'm going to click on it, and we can see the photos that we took. If we click on this little I button, we can see a lot of information about the photo or video. Information like photo or video resolution, the date and time, size, format, shutter speed and so on. A lot of useful information for photographers. If we click this arrow, we'll see a menu. And a lot more options are in this menu. We have a 3x3 grid, a smaller grid, a golden ratio grid, and a horizontal tiltmeter. Then we have the aspect ratios. A 16:9, a 3:2, a standard 4:3, and a square, or 1:1 aspect ratio. And let's check the shooting modes that ProCam has. First let's go to the slow shutter mode. And this is great for a low light shot. And the shutter can stay open for up to 30 seconds. Then we have a burst mode. This is a high-speed photo capture. You can capture around 10 photos a second or more with this mode. The standard photo mode that we were in from the beginning. A dedicated video mode which is full of features, just as the photo mode. We have an audio meter, different resolutions and frame rate options, as well as manual controls like the focus slider, exposure slider, ISO slider and so on. And we have a time-lapse mode. This is a very cool photography technique, where the time in the video appears to move much faster. This is great for moving objects like sunsets, clouds and so on. So these are great and useful shooting modes inside the ProCam app. Above the shutter button, we have the shutter release options, like the self-timer, anti-shake, screen shutter, and interval. And you can set a custom value, for up to 60 seconds, for the self-timer and interval options. And, of course, we have the sliders on the left side. First we have a exposure slider, so you can set a custom exposure for your photo or video. And you can see the zebra stripes for overexposure. This is found in a lot of professional DSLR cameras, and you have this option in this app. Here is the shutter speed option, which we can set lower or higher depending on the lighting that we have. This is a ISO slider, or the sensitivity of your camera to light. The higher the ISO, the brighter your photo it will become. The focus slider, so we can focus on the subject in the foreground or background. This is very useful in video mode. And the last slider is the white balance slider. So we can adjust the temperature of the photo, if we want it cooler or warmer. And the last part is the settings option. We have separate photo and video settings. Some of the settings are the subject tracking autofocus, histogram, photo and video formats, date and timestamps, user interface colors, the time-lapse settings and a lot more things. And we have some other settings like additional information, language settings and so on. And that's about it. If this video was helpful, you should subscribe to the channel for more ProCam video tutorials, photo and video tests and so on. Thanks for watching.